Current Formula One tracks are nothing new to the Lotus 79 series. However, it's rare that we get to race both an old surface and then a brand new repaved makeover. Well, Zandvoort gives us that opportunity. Will we continue to see the Finnish dominance like it's been all season at the front? Let's grab some SPF as we hit the beachside circuit and watch round 5 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joey Atterbury, and joining me in the booth today is Daniel Zippy Salmon. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Well, while I lather up on the sunscreen, let's learn more about what makes Zandvoort such a roller coaster ride with the GSRC Track Guide.
Welcome to Circuit Park Zandvoort. This legendary track directly to the west of Amsterdam and a stone's throw away from the shore of the North Sea has seen more than half a century of racing history. After a brief period of being closed, it was rebuilt in the 90s and then given a huge facelift in 2019 to see the return of Formula One. It retained its 4.25-kilometer length and 14 turns for the Grand Prix course, while the other 3 versions also stayed mostly unchanged. But the biggest adaptations were the additions of steep banking at Hugenholtz and Luijendijk. The unusual progressive banking in Hugenholtz in particular stands out as it brings the oval racing staple to the twisty side of motorsports and has produced action-packed results. Meanwhile, Luijendijk's new camber means that this corner is now easily flat out in pretty much every car and gives even better chances to try and overtake into the famous Tarzan. That said, passing is notoriously difficult at this highly technical track. And while it's much slower than its original guise, it still has some frighteningly fast corners, including Schieblach. If you're brave, the Hans Ernst chicane can sometimes offer chances to sneak by someone, but it can often become a clumsy wreck if you're not careful. The amount of cash poured into the upgrades certainly produce more than just a fresh coat of paint. The spectacular racing put on by everything from open-wheelers to touring cars and sports cars is almost never dull. It's no wonder the Dutch fans come out in droves when the green flag waves here.
I really can't wait to see how this new surface plays out with these cars. Zippy, give us a little bit of a rundown here.
Well, it's great that iRacing's gone and rescanned the track. I know a lot of fans were really keen, really excited to see this updated version. So now you're going to be driving the same version, and for the people at home, you're going to be seeing the same version here. The Formula One titans, the legends of like Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, this is where they go and fight for world championships. Like, this is the same kind of track. I mean, having driven it as well, the Lotus 79 is a very, very raw car. It's certainly, you definitely can't just stomp on the pedal. There's no traction control, no ABS. This is a car that it's all about being in tune with the vehicle, and not only that, in with the surface. So definitely, you got to get into your groove, get warmed up, and like slowly ease the power on. So as we get more into it, I think we're going to see that the lap times start coming down, and the racing starts getting even better and better.
It always works that way. As that fuel burn goes away, the cars just seem to get faster and faster. And we do have a couple points championships on the line here for this series. Starts out with the F1 point standings. Currently, Jukka Tolinen leads over his teammate Pauli Partanen, only 6 points separating these two Finns at the top, and it really has been their dominance the entire season long. Partanen came out, or I should say comes here with 2 back-to-back wins, so we'll see if he can make it 3 in a row. Also have Topi Korteniemi, another Finn there in 3rd place, and I think the biggest curveball here is the last to first challenger, Jason Clapper, still sitting in 4th place in the points. He never qualifies that car. Then another Finn, Juho Raina, there in 5th place. But then things start to get spread out a little bit. But the F1 point standings isn't the only points championship. Zippy, you've got the F2 standings.
Absolutely there, Joey. So the F2, it's looking really good so far. We've got Samuel Ryman, he's ahead with the 128. Peter Koninski, he's 16 points behind, and let's start to get a little bit closer. So we've got Pablo Suarez, 26 points behind, Bjorn Ackerman, 28, Miguel Moreland at 29. It spreads out a little bit more briefly with Andrew Thomas at 35, but then we've got Gregory Woods and Shady Ahmad both 40 points behind the leaders, so hopefully they're going to be able to get some clean races in. Jerry Fokolb, my apologies there, 56 points behind, with Thomas Sibernagel right behind him with 58.
Always interesting to see these drivers and how it takes shape. And today's race is round number 5 here at Zandvoort. 12 rounds in the entire season. 28 laps is what the competitors are going to be doing in an open setup as always. So that means the drivers, they're going to go out there and tune their cars as best as their driving style fits them. Drive-through penalty at 17x, disqualification at 25x, and I don't think we're going to have to worry about the incident limits as we always do. Zippy, I feel like it's going to be more coming down to these cars, coming down to the competitors. You were talking about how raw they are. They don't have ABS. They don't have traction control, and as we get the pictures, look at this. This track is relatively narrow, so you really have to be on top of your game, in control of your car, not to slide off into another competitor.
Oh, absolutely, Joey. Like I drove these myself last week. Trying to think where, I think it was Road America, and like as the fuel burns and the tires get hotter, it definitely does get better. But you got to be so cautious with that throttle. As we see a little bit of a wiggle there from Gernot. If you stomp on the thing, this car is not going to just forgive you. It's going to punish you. So definitely, it is one of the best cars on the sim I find for practicing smooth inputs and having, you can't just stomp on it. You've got to really feather the brakes. You've got to feather the throttle. They say that a smooth lap is a fast lap. Well, this car rewards that behavior.
Here comes Gernot around the corner. He's going to put down his first qualifying lap. Let's see what he throws down. A 123.6. Going to put him smack in the middle of the field in 6th place currently. We already have the top 3. They've already set all of their lap times, and check out the massive time difference that I'm seeing. Topi Kortiniemi, always one of the fastest drivers. He's currently on provisional pole, but Pauli Partanen comes in here with back-to-back race wins. He's 3/4 of a second off of that pole. That is incredibly huge in terms of the delta and in terms of that time difference as we watch Jack David Spickett come across with a 22.5. That'll bump him up into the top 5, but Zippy, 3/4 of a second is unheard of with those 3 guys.
I mean, it could just be like different drivers. They have different strengths, different weaknesses, certainly different tracks. I know myself, I'm a bit of a princess when it comes to certain tracks, but some guys, they're going to be fast. They can give you that 1-2 qualifying lap and they can do it right out the box. Other guys, where they come strong is in terms of racecraft and stuff like that. They're a little bit longer, a bit of a slower, longer burn, but they get there and they get the job done. I mean, the race isn't won in the first couple of laps. You've got to survive the race, especially with a car as raw as this. I mean, you really, really have to keep in control and know the boundaries of grip and of the limitation of what you can get out of it at that lap.
Really nice second lap from Gernot Frischa, is able to jump him up into a 122.9. Keeps him in the 6th place, but definitely at least a little bit more confidence going into the race. And I'm seeing that we're pretty much going to be wrapped up with qualifying here with only a minute and a half left remaining. I believe that Ellis Spice could put down a lap time, but he's currently sitting in pit lane. I think that's going to be it. Our grid will be set out here, and still got a minute left in qualifying. Zippy, we didn't talk too much about that new surface, but right here, this is actually a great shot of it. This is that resurfaced banking coming out onto the front straightaway. These cars, you mentioned, they're really high in the downforce levels, but it's all in the undersides on these cars. It's really the ground effects. Curious to see how they suck down to this banking.
Oh, definitely. It's certainly going to be a different experience for the guys here, but these are professional drivers, they're professional sim drivers. They know how to handle this car. They compete in it frequently, and I've got no doubt that these guys have definitely put in some practice laps, 100%. You don't lead a championship in an official series by just showing up and thinking, okay, it'll be all right. These guys, they're going to be on point.
Looks like we do officially have our starting grid set. Our pole sitter will be Topi Kortiniemi in his number 1 machine. Pauli Partanen coming in 2nd, sharing row number 1. Jukka Tolinen will be lined up in 3rd. Phil Reed will join him on row number 2. Jack David Spickett was able to sneak into that 5th place position late in the session. Gernot Frischa is going to be sharing row number 3 in the 6th place. Dylan Freckleton is going to be lined up 7th, Nathan Finnegan in 8th, Barry West in 9th, and Keith Herner is going to be in 10th. We've got Cam Porter here in 11th place, Philip Urquhart in 12th, Thomas Silbernagel in 13th, Sam Ryman in 14th, and then the two cars that didn't actually qualify are going to be starting from the back, Jason Clapper and Ellis Spice. Keep an eye on Jason Clapper. He's always one of these drivers that never puts down a qualifying time. He always tries for that last to first challenge, and with only 16 cars on the racetrack, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to kind of work his way all the way towards the front of the field, but he always does something tricky out there. And while we got the cars lining up on the grid here, Zippy, any final thoughts from you?
I actually like Jason's strategy. I can't say that I blame him. I know with these cars specifically, I really need a bit of time to get the tires warmed up a bit, get them fired up, and being at the back to do that is actually a really good call. You know, I mean, these guys, they're experienced, they can drive it, but if you recognize that, for example, like me, that you need a little bit more time to get it kicked in, then what better way to do that than to sit in the draft and, you know, get your own pace, get comfortable, and then start to, you know, maybe make up some positions by purely attrition, you know?
Now, previously in the season, it's all been about the low downforce setup, and it's been Pauli and Yuka that have just driven away. Those are the two cars that we're currently waiting on to jump into the starting grid right now. Topi Korteniemi has been that valiant third place all season long, but this track, this specific outline, it's a little bit different than what we've seen all season long. So maybe this is going to swing in the favor of the number one car lined up. And looks like we will have all of the cars on grid. The RPMs come up. And we are green flag here at Zandvoort. Little bit of a slow start from all of the competitors, but crucially the top three get away. It actually looks like Phil Reed is going to be dropping back. It's the slow short run into turn number one. A couple little lockups there further in the back of the pack, but it's Jack David Spigot side by side with Phil Reed. It's still Korteniemi, Partanen, and Tolanen, your top three.
Well, it's definitely been a really good start to the race so far, Joey. Certainly these guys, they know their way around. I'm not seeing any incidents at the minute, but certainly people are getting incredibly close wheel-to-wheel action. I'm just looking back at Dylan Freckleton at the minute. He's certainly trying to give Gernot a little bit of a run there, but at the minute, if it's me in the car, I'm just going to try and get the tires up to temperature. That's going to be my first port of call. And then from there, I'm going to start to get a bit more confidence to try and, you know, start making some positions up.
And you see Dylan Freckleton already trying to show the nose down to the inside there, trying to make some moves early on this first lap. This is one of the slowest sections around here at Zandvoort. Come out, try to put the power down out of these very long radius corners, a little bit of a short sprint into this stadium section. This is another possible passing opportunity right here into Hans Erst. Looks like everybody a little bit equidistant spread out. Now, I have a feeling this might be kind of the racing that we're going to see here. This is more of a higher downforce track, and I described it like a roller coaster. Look at the banking coming out onto the start-finish straightaway.
Oh, definitely would be a lot of fun. I personally enjoy banked corners with a passion, but with the low downforce, I mean, it exaggerates even more so about how smooth you have to be on that input. You don't have the air pushing the tires into the floor. So if you go and you push on that throttle too hard, if you don't do it quite gradually enough, the car will bite you. But as I'm just watching now, I'm watching Gernot Frisch go around that corner where we saw Daniel Ricciardo, where he tried to dodge that fantastic accident, sadly broke his wrist. But it's fascinating to see this track like here in the sim, and to see that you can drive that. I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal. Feel like a Formula One racing driver.
Nathan Finnegan here has moved up a position, was able to get around Dylan Freckleton, so move Nathan up into 7th. You see Dylan, that's the purple car, the purple helmet. He was poking his nose down, kind of a similar line that he was running in the first lap. You see these open wheel cars kind of search for the clean air, maybe just have a little bit of a different visual reference out there, help them with their braking markers and whatnot. And it's going to all be about applying the pressure here today as we go through this stadium section. More banked corners with lots of camber. And you got these updated curb runoffs. And I keep mentioning the downforce, the ground effect cars. these curbs, they've been redone, specifically the exit curbs, not so much the apex curbs. And as a driver, you abuse every single piece of concrete out there. Well, you got to be careful not to abuse the underside of these cars, Zippy. They are ground effect cars, and you can cause damage. All of a sudden, you'll just lose downforce and lose lap time out there if you abuse those curbs too much.
That's an interesting point, Joey. Certainly, even though the car's like built in 1979, aerodynamics were actually coming into play, which is, you know, if I think about it now, it's actually quite surprising. But certainly, you know, same with any track, I find you want to use as much as the surface as you can. You're 100% right there. But if with some curves, if they're a little bit higher, I find that sometimes you can bottom the car out. So these guys, I'm hoping manage to keep it clean, keep it tidy. But just seeing there a little bit, I've got Gernot Frisch on my screen right now. Just as he's exiting the corner a little bit, you're just seeing a little bit of a wiggle from the rear tires there. You know, definitely applying that pressure, but. Certainly, I know when I drove this at Road America, the big, long, sweeping right-hander, it was such an unusual drive. Like, I've never driven a car like it. So to try and get around there, I'd be in fourth gear. I'd put the nose, put a bit of brake, put a bit of weight on the nose, and power on, and you'd almost slide the car around. I mean, there's such a unique driving style to these cars.
We are watching Phil Reed hunt down JDS right now, and unfortunately, Jack had a little bit of a slip-up going into that stadium section. And one of the difficult things here about Zandvoort, it's very much a chess game. It's not an arm wrestling tournament here. There's not a whole lot of passes to play, so you're going to find a lot of times following in the tire tracks, following in that dirty air, just getting closer and closer and closer until you can apply enough pressure that the driver at least makes a mistake in front of you, or you're close enough to make a move down into turn one. This is more the roller coaster section of the racetrack. Up and down these sweeping corners, following the number 7 Pepsi liveried car, and then things start to slow down just a little bit here. Long sweeping right-hander as it feeds into another long left-hander here. Then the short sprint to the stadium section. Hans Ernst is this section we are coming up to. This can be a passing opportunity, but you see Phil Reed, he's just not quite close enough to the back of JDS. JDS much cleaner through the stadium this lap than he was previously.
I mean, there's another thought as well. As we watch the race develop, we're going to see some drivers are going to be stronger in certain parts of the track. I mean, I did find as well the Lotus 79, they're actually, for a series, they're incredibly supportive. As Phil Reed is starting to make a run there on Jack Spickett. I don't know if he's quite got the go to get it, but he's certainly putting him under a little bit of pressure. Dipping a tire in the grass there. Brave man. Rather him than me, but as you can see there, he's going to get a little bit more exit speed there where he took the wider line. Definitely, he's keeping Jack Spickett under pressure there, but such an interesting line as well. I find driving these cars with the grip as it is, I don't necessarily always take the conventional line. Sometimes I'll take like more of a deeper line or sometimes a shallower line. It depends on if I want to try and get higher exit speed or higher entry speed. I mean, as you get closer to an opponent as well, you know, you want to obviously try and steal the line and make presence there. So it's just you're a racing driver, Joey. You can expand on that, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it's about finding the clean air. Like I was mentioning earlier, it's about finding the visual reference points. Like you still see Phil Reed just kind of takes the shallower line there, just trying to search and find whatever grip that he can. He was really close to Jack David Spickett this previous lap on the front straightaway. Let's stick with him here in these next couple corners, see if anything happens, if anything develops. And the one thing that I'm actually noticing, Gernot Frisch, who's kind of lingering right there in the back of this battle, he's kind of fluctuating on that gap, kind of closing it in, and then it kind of stretches back out. But looks like Phil Reed not going to be close enough to make a move on Jack David Spickett right now. Another battle that had caught my eye a little bit further back is our fellow commentator here at GSRC, Sam Ryman, back there in the 13th place, applying some pressure to Phillip. But he's also got Thomas Silbernagel and as well as Jason Clapper, who's making the move right now on Thomas Silbernagel down the front straightaway. Deep on the brakes goes Jason. He is going to take away the 14th place position. Now just a short bit of clean air before he chases down Sam right in front of him, who's on the back wing of the number 14.
Yeah, I was starting to echo the same kind of battle. Like, as I'm looking through the timing and screening, we've also got Freckleton right coming up behind Finnegan as well. This is going to get good. Like, I'm looking forward to it. I think, like you said, the best battle we got going on right now is between 11th and about 14th place. We've got a nice little gaggle of cars starting to appear there. Samuel Ryman, he's chasing after Philip Urquhart there. 3 cars nicely closely packed together, but the question is like, can you make a clean pass, or is Cam Porter going to end up being like the bottle, the cork in the bottle here? Like, we know that Jason Clapper, he has race performance overall, and he tends to start at the back. He's still got to get through this traffic if he wants a chance at a podium.
Nice run here from Cam Porter. Running right where he qualified. As we see, we get a purple fastest lap from Topi Kortuniemi. There's nothing that's been changed up front, folks. Topi is running away. It's about 2.5 seconds between him and Pauli, and about 1.5 seconds between Pauli and Yuka. So we are showing you the best race on the racetrack as we get Jason Clapper. He's going to make another move now on Sam Ryman as his next victim. We watch him come around turn number 1. Now he is going to chase down the 14 of Philip Urquhart. He's also got Cam Porter right in front of him. So this is 5 cars kind of all within a train right here. This is a nice little battle. Doesn't matter if you're up first or if you're a little bit further in the back of the pack. There's some good fights.
Absolutely, Joey. I mean, myself, I love going through traffic. I mean, if you ask me to lead a race, I mean, it doesn't happen too often, but I would much sooner do exactly what Jason's doing and try and make my way through the pack. For me, that is the fun of racing, you know. I don't just want to go out and do fast laps. I want to battle with the guys, and certainly I was watching Philip Urquhart a few moments ago. He had a little bit of a lock up there, so he's definitely under pressure. Jason Clapper is reeling them both in, so I'm very expecting us to see a pass from Clapper certainly within the next, probably the lap or so.
I think so. You see him already closing it in. Now Jason Clapper is that white and red Marlboro themed car. He's closing up very quickly on the back end of that black number 14 of Philip Urquhart. Coming out onto the front straightaway here. They're all kind of equidistant, and when you're in Jason Clapper's view right now, it's kind of frustrating. You're third in line, you're getting a terrific tow, but that car right in front of you, he is also getting the tow from that car. Oh no, Philip with a big lockup out of the front right into turn number 1. That opened the door for Jason Clapper. He takes it and says, thank you very much for 12th place.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a gimme there. I think that corner and Philip are not necessarily the best of friends. Same spot he locked up on the last lap, but I mean, it worked out great for Jason. He was able to get through cleanly, as we can see him there on the camera. This man is definitely concentrating. It looks like he's using a manual shifter as well. I'm not sure if it's a sequential or if it's a full H pattern. Certainly myself, I would like to say that I had the talent to use a H pattern in Sim, but I'd be lying. So absolutely fantastic to see a driver's view of this as well. And I got to admit, I like the wheel he's got on the back wall as well.
Well, Zippy, if you're going to be doing more with GSRC, let me introduce you to Cam Porter here, driving the number 13 car today, rocking the Cammy's Garage woodworking shirt. That's his business. He makes a ton of that stuff, including that steering wheel that you mentioned behind him on the wall. So he's done all that himself, and right now he's holding off Jason Clapper. Oh, he runs a little bit wide there. That's going to give the run to Clapper here. He is all over the back of the rear wing, and I don't think that Cam Porter is even going to defend it. He knows that that pass is going to be made. Jason Clapper now up into 11th as you see him dart by on the right side of the screen. And Zippy, he is using an H pattern shifter. You'll find that a lot of these vintage competitors, they are true to the realism factor. So not only is he using an H pattern shifter, he's also probably using 3 pedals as well.
Well, I like to think I'm a bit of an accomplished driver, but I don't have as much real-time track time. I mean, I drive 6-shift transmissions for my personal cars every day, but not in the same environment, I'm sure. But I've got to say, it's a huge respect to these guys. There's so much going on when you're trying to throw a car around the track, and I think as well it does add to the fact that you need to be smooth. Certainly when I was getting my racetrack license, the biggest thing the instructor taught me was smooth inputs. You know, if it seems busy and rushed, then you're probably not doing it right. But it's amazing if you look at the footwork of some of these guys. Like I'm one of these people who will happily watch, especially a rally driver is a whole different league. You watch the footwork on some of these guys, it's insane, absolutely insane. It's like, how on earth do they do this? Pretty cool, the skill sets that these drivers get to use. And I was
Very lucky to, in my racing career, get to drive cars with 3 pedals. And yeah, you know, without traction control, without a lot of ABS, you definitely have to go out there and drive the cars. We watch Jack David Spickett do exactly that. Phil Reed continues to chase him down. Remember, we were covering this battle probably a handful of laps ago. Nothing has changed here. Phil Reed in that black and red number 4 continuing to put the pressure on Jack David Spickett in the Pepsi-themed livery car out here. And these 2 drivers, they're incredibly talented. Something that you also don't know, Zippy, about Phil Reed here, he's known as the controller king. He's not racing on a steering wheel and pedals. He's got a controller.
Whoa. I was just looking at the guy's iRank. He's like 5,800 IR. So I got to hand it to the guy. That's incredible. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've got 2 different ends of the spectrum here. We've got the person who's racing on the controller, and then we've got Cam Porter there with the H-pattern shifter and 3 pedals, like completely different ends of the scale. But to have such excellent car control off a joypad, I mean, I'm blown away. I mean, I would like to see what he could do with a wheel and pedals, I'll admit. But, you know, each their own. I mean, I know some people where, you know, they have modified controls because that's just what they can physically do. And you know what, these guys, they race clean, so it doesn't matter how you drive the car, you can still have great racing.
And whenever we talk to Phil Reed about this, he says, you know, there's always positives and negatives to it. So there's definitely positives to being able to crank counter steer in the car faster than you can turn a wheel. However, there's also negatives and the little fine adjustments just to keep the car straight and pointed on big, long straightaways such as Le Mans. So I think that Phil Reed has put in so much time with that controller. It has pretty much just become his steering wheel and pedals, and he's adapted to it. It's all about adapting to the equipment that you are using, and Phil Reed is a great example of that. And oh, look at the big wiggle. Jack David Spickett trying to put the throttle down with his right foot. Got a little bit greedy there, was wagging the tail coming out of the corner. Let's see how he is through the stadium section. If Phil Reed can keep it nice and tidy, he puts the car right behind Jack David Spickett. Zippy, here we go. Oh no, problems with Cam Porter and Phillip back here. This is an accident that's live.
Oh, definitely not what you want to do. It looks like he may have got away mostly unscathed, but certainly the Lotus 79, while being an amazing car, it's not the most robust. That's another, the Lotus special car, that's off as well. Perhaps, I know certainly as well, when you spun one of these cars, the tires have just got so much heat in them. It's like you're trying to drive on dinner plates for a little while. They need a bit of time to cool down. So we're going to take a quick look at the replay here. Oh, it's just over-rotated as he's gone in. The John Player Specials almost managed to avoid it there.
Yeah,
definitely there will be some damage.
Unfortunately, Phillip definitely got into the back of Cam here. If we see this angle, we're just going to see straight into the back right rear of Cam Porter there. Unfortunately, and then another hit as they were coming sliding to a stop there. And you were mentioning the durability of these cars. Looks like Phillip has been able to continue on, although he just had another problem in turn 1. You know, looking at that car and how many times he spun it afterwards, I would think that it's got some sort of steering damage.
Potentially. It's certainly, I admit that I am not the best driver in one of these. I find they're a very, very demanding car, but after that little bit of a spin, the tires are definitely going to be hot as we head back to Phil Reed and John Spickett here. Phil Reed really keeping the pressure on. Spickett's gone a little bit wide. Reed's gone up the inside. And he's through. He's made it past, but I'm sure Spickett is definitely going to want to have an answer to it. He's not quite alongside heading into turn 1. They're on opposite sides of the track. Lots of space being left. Spickett's going to get definitely the nicer exit there, having the nice cleaner line, the wider line. But we'll have to see over the next couple of corners if Spickett can regain that 4th place.
And I think JDS did have a run down the front straightaway, but he surrendered the position to Phil Reed. I think he just finally made that mistake, which opened the door. Phil took advantage of it, and from now, it's all about Jack David Spickett taking out the notepad, the pen and paper, start taking down some notes from this car in front of you. Where is he faster? How can you get faster yourself? Because as you see, this black and red number 4, he's already stretched out 3/4 of a second in just a few corners. I bet you by the end of this lap, it'll be approaching 1 second.
Spickett there, he's having to put in a lot of correction there just to try and get around the corner. I'm wondering if he's gone and cooked the tyres a little bit. You know, if he's been pushing hard. It's just reached a point where the tires have kind of fallen off a little bit. I'm watching him now, and again, a more counter steer there, just trying to get the car around the corner. I think you're going to be right. Phil Reed has already pulled out. He's 1.2 seconds away. Certainly, if I was Spickett, I mean, this is definitely an accomplished driver. He's got about 4,000 iRating. If I was him, I think I'm going to just try and worry about putting in some clean laps, get them tires cooled down a little bit, and be more focused about running some nice, clean, tidy laps and trying to keep Gernot Fritsch behind him.
Let's check in on the front up here as Topi Korteniemi is just a machine. He is almost like AI out there today. He has stretched it out 4 seconds over Pauli Partanen. Remember pre-race, I said that Pauli Partanen has come into today with back-to-back wins. Only Jukka Tolvanen and Pauli were separated by 6 points apiece. Could anybody break up those two at the front? It looks like Topi Korteniemi has brought his A game today. He has been setting fast lap after fast lap. And to let you all know, he is the only driver in the 1 minute 21 second bracket in terms of his fast lap. So he is just checking out from the field. Pauli Partanen has put up a very valiant effort in second place. He was able to hang on to the back, the slipstream, for about a handful of laps. But once he lost that, I mean, there is no catching Topi out front.
I'm just watching the battle now as Dylan Freckleton is trying to make a move over onto Nathan Finnegan there. These guys have been scrapping it out for a little bit. The gap's now down to about 0.3 of a second. Freckleton there just trying to make a little bit of a move. I think this is going to be the fight to watch right now. These guys certainly, as you look at the lap times, they're very similar. They're 1:23.5, 1:23.2 is their best. iRatings, there is a bit of a gap. It's about 1,000 iRating between the difference, but I find that the Lotus 79 is one of those cars where you can get a guy who's like 1,500k and you can just connect with the car. It varies so much, especially I find a Spec Ford is very similar as well. Some cars, the iRating becomes not as relevant, but you see Freckleton there, he just got a little bit of a better exit and he is all over the rear bumper of Nathan Finnegan.
Yeah, you see Freckleton actually have to live. Now he goes to the inside. This is a common sweeping passing opportunity. Finnegan leaves him room, but Freckleton wasn't able to put his car up alongside far enough to really make sure he got that pass. He's going to look down to the inside here. He's been showing the nose all day long here in this slower section of the racetrack, but now he's about 10 car lengths back. Gonna have to gather it up. Oh no, actually Finnegan makes a mistake and then Freckleton makes a mistake as well. It's a little bit of a slow drag race down to the stadium section. I think they're both kind of gathering up their thoughts. Zippy, I don't think this is the last of the battle. You were mentioning Freckleton was pressuring Finnegan. Well, they both made the exact same mistake, and I don't know if you saw that, but they both kind of balked at each other like, oh, I made the mistake, you can take the position, but I think they're both so even on pace. This is far from over.
You're 100% right, Joey. I definitely don't think this is over yet. There's still, if I look at the gap now, it was 0.3 of a second. It's already down to 2 tenths now. That draft really helping pull Finnegan along. But certainly sometimes if you see a guy have a little bit of a wiggle, you instinctively try to avoid it and you start to unbalance the car as well. You know, as you're going round, like certainly you're expecting to just kind of say banked in and, you know, all the weight is evenly distributed. If you start adding in some more excessive corrections all of a sudden, it throws the weight balance of the car off and then it's a little bit of a job to recover that, and I think that's what we saw there. I think there was a little bit of a reaction just trying to, you know, then hold on to the car, but Freckleton's pulled away a little bit. He's up to 0.8 of a second now. I don't know if this is going to be enough for him to get away. As I look at the fastest laps, there's only 0.3 between it, but Freckleton does have the advantage on overall pace right now.
This is Dylan Freckleton starting to stretch it out. And, you know, I've been a fan of Dylan Freckleton because here in Discord, whenever we bring him in for the interviews, he's got Phil Collins as his little emoji. And something neat about Phil Collins, did you know that he was the only artist to play a sold-out show on 2 different continents on the same day, once in Wembley and then once in Madison Square Garden in New York City? Pretty cool stuff as we check back in on our leader, continuing to pull it away. Pauli Partanen now 4.8 seconds behind our leader. And I think the most impressive one Yuka Tolinen 11 seconds behind Topi Kortiniemi out here. It's usually the Paula and Yuka show. I mean, it is all about Topi today.
I mean, the guy's definitely connected with the car. He knows what he's doing. He's still the only person who's in the 121s. And then not only that, he's in there by about 0.2 of a second. But reading the chat in the actual in the race server, apparently all top 3 drivers are from Finland. So I'm starting to think, okay, Valtteri Bottas, this is starting to make sense now. This is like some places, I know certainly in Finland, I think it's incredibly difficult to get a driving test, if I remember correctly. Like they really test you and teach you. And we're seeing the fruits of their labor right now, because I mean, these guys are absolutely on point and dominating this race.
And funny you say that, because the Finns typically they dominate the Lotus 79 series, and we're missing 2 of them. We're missing Kimmo Viilikainen as well as Juho Raina, which are usually both at the front of the field as well. So we have 3 Finns here today, and not unlike usual, they are occupying the top 3 spots on this 16-car field. There's just something else in the water with these racing car drivers up there, and there's actually been a lot of these drivers, these Finnish drivers, that have made their way through the Lotus 79 series, go on to earn their black stripe, their pro license, and go on and do other sorts of competition here on iRacing. But I think the foundation that's set here in the Lotus 79 series, it can actually be a little bit overlooked. These cars, they're incredibly fast. You have to learn throttle control with them. You have to learn patience with the brake pedal pressure on not locking it up. They don't have ABS, and they do still have enough downforce to really make them dangerous in these medium speed corners. So it's not like an old car where you just are kind of along for the ride. There is some incredibly strong skill sets to be learned here in these Lotus 79 series.
Oh, 100%. Like, having driven it myself as well on the sim, and it's a mixed relationship for me with the car, because I love the sound of it and I love exactly just how raw it is. There is nothing to interfere. But then equally so, it becomes so challenging to put together that perfect lap, or to even, I'll admit, I don't tend to manage to finish these races too often. I mean, I was saying earlier, like just last week I drove it, I only got one off track, which for me driving that car is like, oh my gosh, I've won the lottery, you know. It's such a demanding car, so almost as like a teaching tool, like, and leading up to their more professional series, it is absolutely fantastic. I mean, you're right, it is often overlooked, certainly in the officials, because when people go for officials, they just want to sometimes, like, they pick up a race, and you know, the Lotus doesn't have like a full race every night. It generally tends to be, this is the main race happening every week. But you know what, it's very much an alive series. And then if you look in the Discord for it as well, these guys are so supportive. I mean, they will provide you with a setup and they want you to go faster.
It's a great community. It doesn't matter if you're racing the 49s, the 79s, or the camel cars. Watch Jason Clapper get a tremendous run out of that turn 3 banked corner, and he's just going to drive right by Barry West in that white and orange machine. But here comes Barry. He's going to keep it pinned to the right side of the road, side by side between Clapper and West, and finally Jason is able to carry the momentum up along the top side of the racetrack, move him up into the 9th place. So all the way from the back of the field up into 9th so far for Jason Clapper. We are well past halfway. Unfortunately, only about a quarter of the race left, and I see about an 8-second gap between Jason and the next car in line. I think Jason's just going to have to settle for doing some laps right now.
I gotta admit, that pass was absolutely like a huge set of stones. I could have sworn he dipped a wheel in the grass at one point, and he managed to keep that car under control. So, Jason, I know it may not be the result you're looking for, but sheer respect for you for that absolutely fantastic car control. Like, I think for me that was probably one of the best passes of the race so far.
That entire section, I keep saying roller coaster ride, and it really is. These cars make enough downforce that they suck themselves down to the road, and it's just all about maybe lifting off of the throttle to get the nose, get gripped up a little bit, get that weight transfer. But even then, the faster you go in these cars, the more grip that ground effect, that downforce makes. So it's kind of a little bit of an odd feeling that you actually have to go faster in order to get more grip.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm finding as well, I'm just looking at the lap times quickly, Paulie Parton, and he's actually managed to break into the 121s as well as Topi there. He's managed to do a 121.4. It's like I was saying earlier, as the cars get a little bit lighter and the tires get a little bit warmer, the grip becomes so much more available. Like it's great if you're driving these things because you can put your delta up and you can fluff the lap slightly and it'll still be the same, if not better. It kind of like complements you as you go throughout the race. And these guys are definitely much more skilled than I am behind the wheel. And the fact that Paulie's now down to just a 121.8, trying to match Topi's 121.4, you know, the gap is starting to close now in terms of, you know, outright pace.
I think that Jukka Tolinen is probably doing a good job for his race right now. You can clearly see that he didn't put in the practice time that maybe Topi or Pauli did this week. However, being only 6 points behind Pauli Partanen in the championship coming in here, I think that third place is still a fantastic points result. When you look at the championship, it's all about limiting the mistakes on your worst days. Well, today is not going to be the best day for Jukka Tolinen. But look, he's not on the side of the road. He's not parked in pit lane from a crash. He's still in a podium position. And when you look back upon a season, a track that you didn't do much practice on or maybe aren't as comfortable on, I'll take a podium any day.
I'd just take finishing the race in one of these with my skill level. You know, that's where I'm at. A podium in one of these, that would be amazing. But for me to manage that, the strength of field would have to be alarmingly low, I'll admit. Like, that's the fascinating thing as well. So the race today got split into two different splits, but sometimes I found that I've ended up being like a low number car in the lower split, and then the pressure is on. But to try and race with some of these guys, you know, I'd be happy just going wheel to wheel with these. Every person in here has me beat hands down. I mean, the closest one for me would probably be Thomas Silbernagel with the 2265 IR. But again, like as you look at the results and stuff like that, I mean, he's not exactly a slow driver. He's still doing a 124.2. I doubt I could even hit a 125 on a good day. You know, these guys, they are refining their craft.
And just to let everybody know who's watching, this is the strength of field race. So what Zippy is talking about out here is we have a maximum number of starters each week in iRacing, and if we exceed that, it kind of splits the field into multiple different races. Well, this is that top split. This is the best of the best that are entering this Lotus 79 race every single week. So you're right. You know, if I was out there on the sim, I wouldn't even have a high enough I rating to be in this split, first of all. And then even if I was out here, I would be getting embarrassed in terms of the lap times. As Topi Korteniemi, I'm convinced he's AI. He is a robot today. He is just putting in lap after lap after lap. Fast lap 121.323. Now, Pauli Partanen has closed it down to a 121.32 as well. I think this is going to be a little bit of a chess game, Zippy. The reason why we talk about fast lap in this series, it is worth bonus points out here. So you might see a little bit of chess of Pauli or Jukka trying to slow down, cool their tires, and then sprint for a fast lap, even if it's just to take 1 or 2 points away from Topi.
Well, that's the beautiful part of it. If you already know that you're not going to catch the guy ahead for position unless they make a mistake, why not go for that bonus point for the fast lap? I mean, as you look at the timing around, so Pauli is 6 seconds behind Topi, and then Jukka's about 10 seconds behind Pauli. These guys have got breathing room, and then Phil Reed, he's another 10 seconds, 9 seconds behind Jukka. Like, as you look at the field is pretty spread out right now. The closest people we think we've got going on will be Dylan Freckleton behind Gernot Frisch. He's about 2.5 seconds back, but the cars aren't too close on track right now. I do have to ask, Joey, for the fastest lap, do they have to be in the top 10 position to do it, same as Formula One, or is it anybody who's running right now?
No, it's just anybody who's running, and you see Pauli just sneak it away, a 121.286. So that is your new bar to chase, your new carrot out on the fishing line, if you will. So Pauli Partanen steals it away. We'll see if Topi Korteniemi has a response to it. I have a feeling he will. We still have 4.5 laps left remaining here in this race. You mentioned earlier, as the fuel burns off of the cars, well, the grip, it stays there, and with a lighter car, that just means you're able to go faster and faster and faster. That's why we see these lap times continue to drop. The tires stick around at least enough. The grip, it's there. You drive the car a little bit differently because the tires are a little bit worn out, but in terms of the speed, the fuel burn is enough to keep improving that lap time.
Oh, 100%, Joe. I was just trying to watch some of Topi's laps at the minute, and these guys, like, they're dipping a little bit of a wheel in the grass, like I'm just watching there. Like, he's slightly over the rumble strips there on the exit of that such a roller coaster corner as he heads onto the back straight. But, like, the sheer talent, because to get these cars not only just around the track, but to the limit and for placing it so accurately, I mean, it's incredible. It's no wonder these guys are quick. I mean, as you can see again there, he's like 2 wheels right on the edge of the rumble strip through every single corner I'm finding, you know. Interesting here where he goes around this bigger bank section, you know, very different line to what I would expect, but, you know, these guys, I've got to admit, they know better. They can drive this car. Like, I imagine as well, if you went on the inside with that, you'd almost, you know, you'd struggle with the bottoming out. You could get a higher speed going up higher and using that bank section.
Our leader is running up on a lapped car here. He has 6+ seconds and change, so he doesn't have to be aggressive. He is able to work his way around Thomas Silbernagel there with no issues at all. And, you know, tip of the cap to Thomas for seeing the leader come up. He kind of drifted out wide there, just let Topi have the racing line as we're riding on board with our leader. Dive it down here into this tricky little stadium section. Keep it off of the gravel on the left side. Put the power down coming out of that camber all the way up over that exit curb like Zippy was just talking about there. Used a little bit of the gravel here on the left side. Bend it back into the final corner. All of that camber, all of that grip to shoot you out onto the start-finish straightaway up over 160 miles an hour by the time they get to start-finish there. 3 laps remaining here at Zandvoort. It has been a tale of all Topi Korteniemi today. I don't think anybody is going to be able to catch him unless Topi has some sort of massive mistake or hardware failure. I'm knocking on wood over here. That doesn't happen because he's put together a fantastic race. Shout out to Pauli Partanen here in the second place. He's done everything he can to at least hold pace. And here at the ending stages, he's actually threatening Topi for that fastest lap still.
Yeah, definitely. But then you say that, Topi's going to put in a 121.175. I mean, it's like I said earlier, the lap times just keep dropping and dropping as the fuel comes off the car, like you said there. But I'm wondering, like, Yuka's dropped back quite a lot from Pauli, considering he was like maybe like 10 seconds earlier. He's now back to almost 13 seconds, whereas Pauli's only 6 seconds back from Topi. So I'm wondering if Yuki's, like you said, trying to really cool those tires down, or if he's maybe got caught up with a little bit of a bank marker at some point. But everything seems to be going pretty clean right now. You know, certainly it's such a demanding car to drive, and to be able to drive these cars to such talent, and not only that, it's been a clean race as well. I mean, we've not seen anybody, you know, there's not been any questionable moves, which is what you need when you're driving a car just as raw as this. I mean, you don't have the ability just to try and stop and change direction in the middle of a corner. Like, you need to be able to follow your line, and the racing's been absolutely top-notch, Joey.
Well, I don't know if you saw what popped up on screen right there, but you were just making the comment of a 121.2 out of Pauli Partanen, and Topi Korteniemi just threw down a 120.8, nearly half a second faster than what Pauli Partanen has gone so far this race. I expect to see a response out of the number 3 car, but coming up here to the white flag, Topi is on another heater. I'm seeing him maybe even purple here in the first sector. Remember, I made the remark in qualifying, 3/4 of a second was huge over Pauli Partanen, and it seems like Topi, he's taking some pre-workout at the end of the race. Now is when he's even flexing more muscle.
That's definitely one way of doing it, Joey. I mean, I was watching Pauli just then, he got caught up a little bit with the back marker, but another thing as well is if Topi had managed to catch like a back marker on like the start-finish straight, that's going to give him a huge advantage. I mean, the draft in these cars is significant. I depend on it quite a lot when I'm driving just to try and stay with somebody. But, you know, it all depends as well, like where we're starting to run in the back markers a bit. You need a clean track, but I think Pauli would have had a nice clean run for this one. I mean, I think it's going to be probably his last chance. I think the white flag's been waved. It's his last chance to try and take away that fastest lap position.
Yeah, our leader is on the final lap, but this is Dylan Freckleton chasing down Gernot Frischel. Keep an eye on the leader, make sure we cover that checkered flag, but this is the closest battle. Dylan Freckleton has been chasing down Gernot in that number 2 car, and This is a little bit of an oddball because Gernot just doesn't seem to have the pace here today. A 122.99 that last lap out of him, while Dylan Freckleton had a 122.0. So Dylan hard on the charge here. He's only going to have one lap remaining to be able to make that move, try to sneak away that 6th place from Gernot Frische as they dive down into turn number 1 here. Gernot is able to kind of stretch it out just a little bit over Dylan as we jump back up to our leader. This is Topi Korteniemi, your pole sitter by a tremendous amount earlier. He has dominated the entire race, got a great jump on the standing start, has left Pauli Partanen, our points championship leader, in the dust, has left Jukka Tolinen in the dust. However, it is still a finish. Top 3, Topi Korteniemi, your winner here at Lotus 79 Zandvoort.
I've just been watching. There's been a bit of a battle going on between Dylan Freckleton there and Gernot Frische. There was a little bit of contact as well. I'm wondering if we can just get a little bit of a replay perhaps, but these guys were going at it for several corners. Like, the white flag was gone, but it definitely was not the checkered. I'm wondering, you know, it wasn't the cleanest pass there. It was definitely a little bit of contact, and I don't know if these guys will give the position back, but oh, it was tight. It was definitely tight. I mean, to be so close together in these cars, really, really, I'm glad none of them fully wrecked. Like, it was definitely a little bit close for comfort and then some, but oh, just as such a close end. I thought they were both going to bin it. It was so close, but it looks like Dylan's going to keep that position, so it'd be interesting to see how the drivers react after the race.
Yeah, Gernot's coming home in 7th, and I was able to take a look at this. This was a nice side-by-side battle as we close out the race. Gernot doesn't get the run coming out of turn 3. You see Freckleton move to the driver's right side of the racetrack, and you see what Zippy was talking about, almost a little bit of a door bang, but here Freckleton has the advantage being on driver's right. He's able to hold the car all the way down to the apex. Still a little bit of side-by-side, and that was the contact you were talking about, Zippy. I think that's where Gernot really kind of got jumped up into the air, and a little bit of a lockup there as well was able to give Dylan Freckleton that 6th place position. Well, what we're going to do is take a quick break, be right back with the official results and any post-race interviews.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It was another Finnish dominance up front, but today a different Finn takes the top step. Topi Korteniemi is the winner at Zandvoort and the Lotus 79 series. Pauli Partanen came so close to the fastest lap, folks, 4/100ths shy. So Topi Korteniemi, pole, win, and fast lap. Pauli Partanen will finish 2nd. Jukka Tolinen 3rd on your podium. Phil Reed with a nice pass earlier on Jack David Spickett winds up in 4th. JDS with the top 5 finish. Dylan Freckleton comes home 6th. Gernot Frische in 7th place. We covered that battle right there at the checkered flag. Nathan Finnegan in 8th. And Jason Clapper is going to be your biggest mover, up 6 positions to finish 9th. Barry West rounding out your top 10.
And in 11th place, we had Keith Herner, followed by Samuel Roman in 12th. Thomas Silbernagel in 13th. Alice Spice in 14th. Cam Porter with a little bit of an unlucky incident there with Philip Urquhart in 15th and 16th.
Only the one did not finish there with Philip, and it actually looks like we've got our winner. Topi Kortinjaimi is going to be joining us here in the commentary booth. Get him down here. Topi, congratulations on the checkered flag. Today was something else. You were dominant.
Yeah, thank you. It's a really fun track to drive. I was in the zone most of the race. It's fun.
Well, it seemed like it all started from qualifying. You were 3/4 of a second faster than Pauli Partanen and Jukka Tolvanen. Where did this speed come from? You're always fast. You're always in the top 3, but I mean, you blew them away today.
I don't know. This week, I just found a great balance with the car, and it was easy to drive. Apparently, it was fast, so it's a win-win.
Well, are we going to expect to see this sort of dominance in the future here? Imola, Spa, Interlagos, the next 3?
Maybe. I'm just starting to get the setups dialed in. I've been experimenting stuff with the new tire model, so we'll see. Maybe I can challenge them there as well.
Well, Topi, pole position, fastest lap, and the race win. Congratulations. Anybody you want to say hi to?
You guys, of course, and Mick, who's been watching, and my team, and yeah.
That was Topi Kortinjaimi, your winner today, finally here at round 5, showing the speed that he really has. And looks like Zippy has caught up with our second place finisher. Pauli Partanen is going to be joining us in the booth. Zippy, take it away.
Hey, Pauli, you must be pretty pleased with the second place. What was your tactics going in? Because obviously there's Topi, there's yourself, and there's Jukka, all incredibly quick guys. I mean, tell us about how your race went, if there was any strategy involved.
Well, first of all, amazing quali by Topi. Like, he was on different level, like a real alien this time. And I knew I had to make something on the first corner if I wanted to win. And sadly, he got very good start, and I got bad start, so I knew that was it. So that there went my plan, and after that, I just wanted to push every lap as fast as I could. But Topi got the fastest lap, like very minimum difference between us, but I really tried to take the fastest lap at least, but Topi was the man today.
Well, honestly, if it was me, I'd be still very happy with your performance. I mean, we were keeping an eye on the fastest lap, and between you and Topi, you guys just kept battling it out. Like 1 minute you've got it, next minute Topi's got it, and even at the end of the day, it comes down to so there's a 20.830 and a 20.877. I mean, that's peanuts. That's not even a blink. So I think you're pretty well matched, like in terms of fastest lap and pace. He kind of got you in the long stretch. But going into Imola, are you gonna have you got a certain setup that you use personally? Do you use more of the community setups? How do you set the car up for your driving style?
Well, most likely I will do the community setup. So. We will see what comes tomorrow. I will try to make something fast, but I have done Imola in past, and I really liked the track back then. I had very amazing victory on the last Imola race I did, so I'm looking forward to it. But to be honest, Topi's pace is amazing. I knew he will get faster and faster during the season, and I'm sure he will be the guy to beat to the end of the season, but let's see how it goes. I try my best, but he is very tough to beat, for sure.
Well, it's fantastic to see that you're not just you appreciate, the competition you've got, and you're so supportive of your competition as well. I mean, that is great sporting endeavor. But Pauli, while you're in here, is there anybody you want to thank?
Well, first of all, thanks to Jukka. To be honest, I was not planning even to race this week because I didn't have the track and never ever have. I driven here, and Jukka told me nice things about the track, and I finally did pay it, and this is great track. I really loved it. Sadly, I didn't have the Topi space, but the track was very fun to drive. When you were pushing the car, it was fun. So thanks to Jukka, and so we had some very good time practicing together this week, as always. So thanks to him, and thanks to you guys. These broadcasts are amazing, and I really love to watch them afterwards, so hopefully this race will be good also. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Pauli. And that was our second place finisher for today's Lotus 79 race at Circuit Zandvoort. Jerry, I understand you're catching up with somebody else as well?
Yeah, we brought Jukka Tolinen in here, our third place finisher. Now, Jukka, are you happy with the third place today?
No, that's the simple answer, no.
I thought that you had a giant question mark today because you are usually out front with Pauli just duking it out. And today, just the pace didn't seem to be there. What happened?
Yeah, I don't really know. It's completely different track than the tracks we have had this season so far. And well, I saw like after like 5 laps that okay, I have no business challenging those two today, so I will just take the easy points for the third and not crash the car. And yeah, so wasn't pushing at all after that. It was a boring Sunday drive, to be honest, after that one. But yeah, I have no idea how especially how Topi was so fast. So yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, congrats Topi. That makes me quiet today.
You're right. His performance today was pretty unreal. I was calling him AI out there. He was a robot, not making any mistakes. But back to you. Looking at the next couple tracks, Imola, Spa, Interlagos are the next 3. Are we expecting to see you stand on the top again? Because remember, it was Pauli back-to-back leading into here. You won the first 2 of the season. Are you missing the top step yet?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm always missing the top step when I'm not there, of course. But yeah, we'll see. I don't like Imola that much, so I expect it will be a little bit of a trouble for me. But Spa and Interlagos are both very fun tracks to drive, at least. So yeah, I will be most probably there. Have I the pace or not? But I'll do my best anyway. So we'll see.
Well, Jukka, I know it wasn't the performance you wanted today, but congratulations on that third place.
Thanks.
That was Jukka Tolinen there, finishing in the third place position. And that's going to do it here for us today on today's show. Thanks to the team today, Zippy, Zach, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race is Imola. We were just talking about it, October 22nd. It's a little bit of a different time change, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, so a little bit earlier than normal. Make sure to catch us then, and be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here on the screen. If you're around later today, the Rolling Thunder Series is at Watkins Glen at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.